we're excited to have as a guest on this show talking about this rivalry, this game, and everything else going on in the National Football League. A man who has been wired for sound for decades by NFL films, much to the delight of all fans.
Don't get me on the warpath, boys. It ain't pretty.
Hey, fellas, this is what you work all off season for. This is why you lift all them weights. This is why you do all that.
You better think about that, because you can't play if you don't do what I tell you. You cannot play if you don't listen to what I'm saying.
Come here, I want to tell you something. Come here. Now listen to me real quick. You trying to cut me enough? I don't care. I'll tell you, you get in a fight and you get thrown out of this game, you're going home for good, okay? Just so you know.
He is the two-time champion head coach of the New York Giants and also of the Patriots, Jets, Dallas Cowboys, Pro Football Hall of Famer Bill Parcells here on The Rich Eisen Show. Coach, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it.
Well, good afternoon, fellas.
Good to speak with you, Coach. When you look back at your career with the Giants, would you say the biggest rivalry was with Washington based on their heydays with Joe Gibbs? Or
yes,
you would say that?
Yes, I would. Now, you know, Buddy Ryan kind of got into that as well. But Coach Landry was kind of just leaving, you know, after about 2 or 3 years. And then Jimmy came in. It took him a little while to get going. But I would say, without question, the most hotly contested games and really the most on the line was with Washington.
Why was that? How was it matching wits with Joe Gibbs, Coach?
I think he was a tremendous coach. He was one of my fiercest rivals. There was a lot of, you know, people always use this word, but there was a lot of respect on both sides, both players and coaches. And I think it was good, clean, hard, find out who's best this week football. And that's really what it was, and it was that way for, you know, 9 years.
Bill Parcells joining me here on the program. What was it like, though, standing across the field from Tom Landry, seeing that hat, the man in the hat across the field when you were just getting started in your head coaching career?
Well, you know, the good thing about it was he was very close with members of the Giant organization because Wellington Mara and he were very close friends. So Wellington kind of gave me an entree to Coach Landry, and I was able to, you know, inquire about things and use him kind of as a sounding board when I was first getting started. And it was certainly a vast experience that he had, and he saved me quite a bit of trouble on a lot of issues because I really asked him a lot of very pointed questions. How long do you stay with the player before you give up? You know, what things like that. How much do you practice in pads? How many times do you run your team during the season? You know, all these kinds of questions that, you know, just for the purposes of inquiry, I wanted to know what he thought about.
And then what was it like with Buddy Ryan when he joined with the Eagles, Coach?
Well, Buddy was a very dangerous adversary because he had a philosophy, and he knew the kind of players that he wanted to integrate into that philosophy. And that puts him in the minority in terms of the league. There's a little bit more, I don't want to say grab bag, but there's a little bit more uncertainty of philosophy in a lot of places. But with Buddy, there wasn't. You just knew the kind of player he was looking to get, and he would try to get him. And when he got him, he was dangerous. He really was.
Well, Coach Parcells, though, it does sound you are describing in a way the current Philadelphia Eagles head coach in Chip Kelly, where he has a philosophy and he thinks he knows about the players for his system. And so far this year, with him shopping for the groceries, to use your vernacular, it has not worked out. Do you think Chip Kelly's scheme can work in the NFL?
I do. It worked in... You know, we can only take what the colleges send us, and it was a successful scheme in college. Now, there have been a few nuanced schemes that have kind of come and been a little effective for a short time and then leave. But this, he has pretty much, in his track record coaching, he has pretty much sustained excellence. Now, there's only 2 games into the season, Rich. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, there's a lot of football left. a lot can happen. You saw a lot happen last week that will affect the final outcome. So, it's early. Talk to me about Thanksgiving. That's when I start trying to figure it out.
So what would you say to Chip Kelly sitting there in Philadelphia, hearing all the howling about his scheme and the players that are there? What sort of advice, should he require it, would you give him?
Well, I really wouldn't give him any. I would tell him that if you have a conviction on what you believe in, then stick with it. I had that conversation with Joe Torre a couple of times. And, we talked about that. And if you believe in it and it's your conviction, then you stick with it and try to make it work the best you can.
Well, I had a caller call in last hour asking me to ask you this question, so I'll do it. That Chip Kelly may not have earned the right to shop for the groceries and coach in the same way that you did, Coach Parcells. How would you agree with that assessment?
It doesn't make any difference how he got to do it. That's what he's assigned to do. And he's trying to pick players that he believes fit into the system. And that's what he's doing. Now, this draft is not an exact science here. You don't bat 100% in the draft. Anybody that tells you is batting 100%, he had a lot of whiteout on his reports. So I think we'll see what happens. I'm not ready to pass judgment on anything yet.
But looking back on your career, knowing that you did have a connection, obviously, with George Young, and then in other spots, general managers maybe not so much. Do you think a coach can be most effective when he is choosing his own players and then coaching them, Coach Parcells?
If he knows what he's looking for, I think he can be. But the whole thing, in my opinion, Rich, is to look at the athletes you're evaluating and attempt to have a vision for where that player would fit into your system. And also, does he meet the prototypical requirements necessary to do that? And then, does he seem to have the critical factors with that play that position that allow him to have a chance to succeed? And that's what you really have to do. First, you have to have the vision. And then you got to have the prototype. You can't put a 5'11", 285-pound guy playing left tackle in the NFL. It won't work. Mm-hmm. The guy's got to be 6'4" or 5", and 318 or 19 pounds. If he's not that big, then unless you can get him that big very quickly, you're wasting time.
Bill Parcells, Hall of Famer, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. What did you see in Tony Romo that made you think this guy can be a franchise quarterback that he has clearly blossomed into?
I don't know. Wait a minute. When we were first looking at him, I thought he had good instincts. I thought he was competitive. He had a good release. He had good velocity. He was elusive, but he was a gunslinging maven. I mean, he'd throw it anywhere and hope somebody got it. So it took a while, but we finally settled him down. And, I think that's one of the problems with some of these quarterbacks nowadays. They come in and they get thrown to the wolves, Rich. They're high draft choices. The bus station's full of them. Mm-hmm. They're high draft choices. The expectations are up. The fans want to see them. The owner wants to see them. They pay them a lot of money, and they're not ready.
And it seems like that may be the case for Johnny Manziel in Cleveland right now, where a lot of Browns fans saw him win last week, want to see what they could do again, and Mike Pettin is sitting him down this week for Josh McCown.
It's a dilemma. It really is. But, I'm going to tell you, I think, an observation that might be interesting to you on the quarterback.
Sure.
We're hearing all the time this is a passing league. It's quarterback. And, the league's always been a quarterback league to varying degrees. But what I see now is there are some teams that are presently constructed to where, Rich, if their quarterback does not play very well, the other components on the team do not give that team a chance to win. Whereas I see a few other teams in the league that I could cite where the quarterback might not be regarded as a elite, to use the word, that's the word nowadays,
Yes.
quarterback, but he's a little above average, but the surrounding components are good enough to assist him to be productive. And I think there's some teams you look around, I think Detroit's one, I think San Diego's one, I think Baltimore's headed that way. If their quarterback doesn't play well every Sunday, they're not winning.
So when you look at a team like Houston, Bill Parcells on the phone with me right now.
Houston?
With J.J. Watt regarded as perhaps the best player in the league, that he could have been the MVP last year on NFL Network. He was voted by his peers the top player in the NFL. If you were given a choice between Watt and, let's say, one of the great young quarterbacks in this league to build a team around right now, who would you choose, Coach, to do that?
I would take the quarterback because it's an essential position. But I would not want to take an average quarterback over J.J. Watt. I want to take a top quarterback over J.J. Watt. And the problem with that, Rich, is some of these quarterbacks have attributes that you can't see that allow their careers to flourish. And there are others that have attributes that you can't see that act as a deterrent to that career effectiveness.
How do you,
and those are the things that are the most difficult thing. And you know what? Don't get me started on these quarterbacks. They get lauded in the draft. You guys do it on NFL Network. You build it up, and pretty soon they go, oh, I'm going to be a high pick. He's pretty important. I'm pretty important. And then the next thing is the apparel companies and the power drink companies and Subway sandwiches. They don't want to miss the next Peyton Manning, so they reinforce that importance to the player by going after him and giving him these endorsements. And then he really thinks he's important. And then the agent comes along and he says, we got to build our brand.
So what's the solution?
That's one step from the bus station.
So what's the solution in getting these quarterbacks ready?
Why don't you take a look at Andrew Luck? You don't see him doing any of that stuff, do you?
Certainly not the first few years of his career. That's right.
That's exactly right. Because somebody told him, his father, here's what we're doing. But I'm just telling you, it's happened. I can list them. There's 5, 6 in the last 3 or 4 years. They're high picks. They're lauded. They're paid money. They give up draft choices for them. The apparel companies want them. The power drink companies want them. And they forget they got to play. They're too busy building their brand. They got to play. And that's why Romo's had a good career, because that didn't happen to him. He had to grind his way onto the team. He didn't even think he was going to make it. We had 4 quarterbacks. We didn't have an issue with one of them. He might not have made it.
So would you throw RG3 in that mix? The one that you were...
Sure. But would I? It's a poster boy.
Bill Parcells joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask...
I mean, you
Sure,
remember
go ahead.
DeMarcus Russell?
Oh, sure.
Okay, well, you got Manuel. You got them. They're all there. You know.
So
unbelievable.
If you're a head coach in the league now, though, how do you combat that? I guess, you got to find yourself a Tom Brady like Belichick, right, Coach? That would help.
Well, it's, as I said, if you can identify the ones that have the attributes that you really can't see that are going to assist them in flourishing, that's the key thing. And I keep using the word vision, Rich. You have to make him fit to what you want. And you just can't make blanket statements. Oh, he's got a great release. He can throw it through a wall. He can throw a BB in. I mean, it's ludicrous. Because it's not all the same.
Before I let you go, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about what you've thought about Bill Belichick and how his career has blossomed into something where he'll have a bust in the same room as yours whenever he decides to hang him up.
He's done a remarkable job with that franchise, and it's certainly been sustained excellence, and that's what he was trying to do, and that's what he's doing. And it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon.
How much of the coaching that you see from him and his style do you think he got from you?
Oh, I wouldn't know. He's his own guy. You know, his father was a coach. He grew up in a football family. You know, I got Zimmer. He's the same way. His father was a coach. Those are good resources at a very young age. So he's his own guy. He's learned from everybody he's been with, not just me. He's been with some good people.
And before I let you go as well, what are your days like, Coach? You at the track? You're golfing?
Well,
what are you doing?
Well, right now I'm in Saratoga, New York. It's
Okay.
blue umbrella skies, white puffy clouds. The horses just left town. I'm active in the horse business. I own several of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just finished hitting golf balls. And now I'm going to go take a swim.
Coach, you are the man.
Take a lot of this to kill you, Rich.
No, look. Coach, I really would love to have you back on this show. I'm born in Brooklyn, raised in Staten Island. What you did with the Giants and then the Jets, and just being around a Jersey guy, what you have done in your career and what you stand for is something that speaks right to my very heart. So it's an honor that you call
Rich,
into the
you're
show.
very kind. I thank you for that.
It's the truth.
I'm happy to join you when you want me.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Enjoy your swim. That's Bill Parcells right there. Take a lot of that to kill you.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.